Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome back to CRL for more action here at ACC. We had a 2-week break due to the finals between England versus Spain last Sunday at 8 p.m. and it was Spain that came out on top with a 2-1 to Spain there. So congratulations, Spain, for winning the Euros. And we are here for the Austrian Grand Prix, which was supposed to be last week, but we had to move it and reschedule it. So not a problem at all. But we're still here in Austria. We're on the fourth race of the season. And we'll see then what happens here. There was rain in the practice session, but here in the qualifying conditions, it looks like it's easing up, or it's stopped raining and it's completely dry. So there was expectations of rain to be around the circuit in the Styrian Hills, which can be quite known and can be quite heavy as well. We've seen in Formula 1, MotoGP and endurance races where the rain can impact the circuit quite a lot. And yeah, we've seen it plenty in the past as well, where skill is involved, confidence and bravery on the throttle, on braking, and already off the track there. It looks like one of the, I think it was the McLaren driver, number 7, that's Harry Palmer. So he went off the track there at the exit of turn 4. He's not on a lap time, he's just come to the pit lane. So I think we've got a 15-minute qualifying session, and we've already got a minute that's been taken off there. So a minute's gone already, and it is a very short track around here. I can't remember the exact length of this circuit, but can be known for good racing and overtaking. There's plenty of braking zones to get the overtakes done. We've got turn 3 and turn 4, mainly used as well for DRS, but obviously no DRS in these cars, or no battery either. So pure straight line speed and a car and setup performance that goes with it too. So I think Harry Palmer is going to be the first one to set a flying lap time. I believe he scored a podium this season back at the French GP. He was currently defended from Josh Evandro and Christian Chamo, who hunted him down on the final lap and came ever so close from sneaking that P2 away from him, but managed to hold on in the end, crucially as well, because it gained him some good points in the championship, and he has scored some decent results here as well. Maybe not in Indianapolis, but the other 2 races, or 3 races, he has performed really well so far, and in the standings as well. He's not too far away either in the championship standings. I think he's currently in P3 in the standings. Yes, he is. So it's Ewan Small that leads the championship ahead of Michael Eckholt, the Danishman, in P2. Harry Palmer is in P3, and Adrian Menenzes, who I think spun at the French GP at turn 3 twice. I think it was at a particular corner where on both occasions he made contact with somebody and ultimately ruined his race. He did win, I think, back in the Valencia Grand Prix. He had a good lead over the rest of the field, but contrasting fortune there. Unfortunately, there is Ewan Small just ahead of us in the Beamer, and that's our championship leader just in front of us. So Harry Palmer P3, he's 4 points away from Michael Eckholt in P2, who really hasn't had the best races either, it must be said. Jurien van Vienen in 5th ahead of Christian Chamo in 6th, the man who just missed out a podium due to a small mistake on his side, and it cost him dearly. So here is the initial lap times being set by the drivers. It's a 30.2 from Harry Palmer, so he currently goes at the top with Son filling in for P2. We've only got 18 drivers on the circuit, unfortunately. We used to having over 30 of them, but 12, 13 or 14 of them unfortunately haven't shown up. Josh Evandro goes into P2, the man who scored at the podium, and Jake Garrett is in P2 as well. Now, crucially for Jake Garrett's championship, he's currently in P7, and he's missed out on a lot of opportunities. I think he wasn't racing back in Valencia due to internet connection issues. He returned in France. He was fighting for the lead of the race until he made contact with Ewan Small. Now, looking at the video, I'm not quite sure who was at fault there. Maybe Ewan Small for taking him out, obviously, but I'm not quite sure the full extent. I did see it 2 weeks ago, and I actually can't remember the video. I think Ewan Small just tapped the back of him and spun him out. So I was about to mention that his championship is looking ever so unlikely now for him, even though we've got a few races left to go this season. But crucially, you cannot be missing races, and you cannot be making these small mistakes. But to be fair to Jake Garrett, it wasn't really his fault back in the French GP. And also, he spun as well, I think, later on in the race when he was fighting with Nathan, so that cost him hugely there, and he was looking to bounce back immediately, because the next race I think is in Kyalami too. So we're here at the Austria Grand Prix. He was quick at the top of the timing screens in the practice sessions. Can he replicate what he did in practice here in an all-important qualified session? Ewan Small has returned from his holiday in Scotland back in the UK. I say UK, back in England, sorry. And we'll see then his absence of racing has it deflected his performance, or has he got back to it immediately? So Jake Garrett improves to P2, Sam Wistrup is P3, and he returns immediately back to the pit lane. Tope is in P5. Now, we haven't seen Tope high up in the standings for quite a while, as he's really been struggling at the back of the field, or in the midfield, it must be said. But currently in P5, we've still got plenty of people out of the circuit to try and sell out time. Michael Eckholt is one of them there, who is currently, I think he's P2 in the championship. He is P2 in the championship. He's currently 24 points away from Ewan Small. So let's see what Eckholt could do in the McLaren. But so far the BMW is looking really comfortable in the championship. Wistrup is up there in P3, but where is Ewan Small going to be as well? He's out on the circuit right now. Continue with Michael Eckholt to see what lap time he could set in his McLaren as he rounds the final corner, and let's see what lap time he does as he crosses the line. Is he going to be up there? Where is he? He stays in P12, so I don't think that's I think that's invalidated somewhere for Michael Eckholt. On board with Christian Chamo, who also is another one who's got great pace. We went off board with him, but Menendez, the Canadian, goes into P1, and there's 600 separating him and Harry Palmer. So close at the top of the timing sheets, there's a Honda who's currently on pole, and Adrian Meneses, who's currently in P4. He's a few points behind Harry Palmer. Had struggles at the French GP and elsewhere. He won in Valencia, but now at the top of the timing sheets. Can he stay there? Can he try and regain some lost ground? He had a bit of bad luck at the French GP, but here, looking like he's got some decent pace so far. Here is Ewan Small, making his way now towards turn 9, and looks like he is on a flying lap as he carries the speed through the double right-hander we go, which can be quite tricky, especially on the exit there, while exceeding track limits or going out wide. But here comes the championship leader. Let's see if he's lost any pace. And the answer is no, he hasn't. It's a 29.847. He has spent a week away from his sim as he bounces over turn 1, clatters the curb and goes off the track. So that's his lap time ruined if he was going for a consecutive lap time. But here comes Eckholt for the second time of seeing him making his way towards that final corner. And let's see if he can finally put a time on the board, and let's see if he does as he crosses the line now. Where can Eckholt go? It's P8 for Eckholt, and he's 6/10 currently off the pace, so he'd be looking definitely for sure to find some pace there. He's behind his championship rivals as he returns to garage and see where else can improve. Here comes Chamo, who making his way around the final corner now. He scored a podium back at the Indianapolis Grand Prix. Here he is making his way towards the line. It's P9 for Chamo as he gets replaced. I think somebody else has just popped themselves up the order as Josh Evandro now takes pole away. That was Son who went up into P8 in the Nissan, but now Josh Evandro has taken pole away from Ewan Small by about a tenth if you want to round it up, but it's so close between the top 4 there. 1/10 separated as Nathan Booth goes up into P5. Great for him. He was close to try and get the podium back in the first GP, but he was struggling. It looked like he was dropping backwards as he was involved in that podium fight, but ended up dropping outside of it and had to defend from the likes of Son as Fisher, who goes into P8. That's Phil Fisher in the P8 there as he makes his way down into turn 1 once more in the BMW. I think he had a decent result back at the French GP. He was involved in that midfield scrap, and he got himself a few places as well. Did make contact, I think, early on in the season, if I'm not mistaken, if it was him or not. Was involved in a bit of car drama back at the Valencia Grand Prix. Elsewhere, we've got Harry Palmer in his McLaren then, making his way around turn 6 and turn 7 again, trying to carry the minimum speed through, then back on the power once again as soon as you straighten the car up, trying to use all the track limits as you can on the curbs, red and white curbs, before you flick it into turn 7. And turn 8 he goes on the gravel, and that might cost him a bit of lap time, or indeed a lot of it, unfortunately for Harry Palmer. The car looks like he was understeered by carrying too much speed in that particular corner, so I think that's his lap time ruin as Ewan Small and Nathan Booth go up into P2. Does Nathan JB. Now, he was dropping backwards at the first GP, but here he is once again. He finished second back in Valencia, did Nathan Booth. And here he is in second place once again, as I'm trying to remember every single result. It is ACC after all, so I don't really remember everything. So we've got 5 minutes left of this qualifying session. Adrian Menendez up into P4. Oh, look at Ewan Small drifting to that final corner there, which will definitely cost him a lot of lap time. Joshua Vancho, here he is coming around the final corner and misses the apex on the entry, but does he find any time in hand? As now, Fisher goes up into P1. Fantastic lap times of 29.5. So the lap times are coming in thick and fast, and now Fisher is the one to beat in the BMW, and he's beat it by almost 2/10 as well. That's a great lap time. 500 separated Nathan Booth and Ewan Small there. Ewan Small is currently fighting with the number 17. I think that's Dylan Hansen down there in 17th place, who disposed of him. But we've still got about 4 minutes left in this qualifying session. So around about 2 lap times or 3, depending where you are on the circuit, to still be completed. Jake Garrett, here he is. They're trying to regain some lost ground after the first GP. He has got a mighty pace. We've seen it in the endurance race back in the Belgian Grand Prix. He had a massive gap over second place, the ILT boys, and also Vanjo Endurance as well. He has a lot of pace, but unfortunately made a few mistakes this season. Here he is across the line, and he stays in. Oh, he actually goes pole. It's pole for Jake Garrett there. No, Harry Palmer just behind us takes pole away from Jake Garrett. It's 500s then, so these guys constantly improving, finding more lap time, more confidence as well. They had the practice session in the rain, of course, and now they're trying to find more limits and more time in the dry period then. So these lap times are starting to get better, and Fisher does improve, but not in his position, and he stays in P3. So he went from 2 and a bit tenths to now 1 and a bit tenths there for Phil Fisher in P3. Josh Evangelho across the line now. He stays, I think, in P5. So maybe going for his another lap time name. Maybe have 2 more lap times on the board. Wichtrup goes up into P6 in the BMW ahead of Ewan Small. I think Ewan Small is climbing towards turn 2. And now headed to the heavy braking zone. Heavy braking zone into turn 3. Will we see any overtaking? We should see overtaking, because if you can get a good exit out of turn 1, try and slipstream the rivals in front of you, try and get alongside and into the braking zone. We should see overtaking there, because we haven't really seen a lot of overtaking. It's been mainly people following each other. It is quite hard to overtake around here in ACC unless you're really close and try and force your rivals into a mistake, like we saw the first GP, where some people got put offline, and therefore the drivers who were attacking managed to get on the exit there by carrying a lot more speed and had a better exit and the racing line too. But Ewan Small now on a flying lap, getting past a few guys on the in or out laps. Just those drivers preparing for the next flying laps. We've got 2 minutes left in this qualifying session. So far it's Harry Palmer who takes provisional pole away from Jake Garrett. Paul Fisher? What am I saying that for? Sorry, Phil Fisher in P3 ahead of Nathan Booth. Joshua Vanjo in 5th ahead of Wichtrup. Ewan Small ahead in 7th place ahead of Adrian Menendez, the Canadian, in P8. So more people across the line, but I think Son's up into P9 now. Where's Ewan Small going to put his BMW? I think he stays at P7. I think he did back off in that final sector, so either he made a mistake somewhere or invalidated. But however, I think this is his final lap time. He has got a few seconds spare if he wants that extra lap time, of course. But these are critical moments here in qualifying. He can ill afford any mistakes around here. And Jake Garrett looks like he's pushing through in his Lamborghini. No, he backs off. So this next lap for Jake Garrett will be his final lap, and this lap will determine if he's on pole or not. So we're coming towards the closing stages of the qualified session. Harry Palmer is making his way through turn 6 and turn 7, so let's see how he's doing then on board or off board with the McLaren. This is where he made a mistake last time we saw Harry Palmer. He ran through the gravel, and once again he does the exact same thing when we go on board with him. So will he back off, and will he go for his final lap time as he will make his way across the line to go for one more flying lap? And this lap will have to count if Harry Palmer wants to put a breathing space between himself and the rest of the field. Then the hot on his tail makes a mistake though. That's a very odd mistake considering he's actually preparing for his lap. But can he recover this? I'm not quite sure. Looks like he's going for it again, but he won't have the speed down the straight as you usually do at the final corner, so he'll be disadvantaged even before he starts the lap. That's quite hard from Harry Palmer. I'm not quite sure how he made that mistake, but Nathan Booth, his qualifying is done and dusted then. Josh Evancho making his way towards the 2 final corners here, the fast speed corners, and it can be quite difficult too. He can take a lot of curb on the entry, but might push you off the track like we saw there with Harry Palmer. Here comes Josh across the line. Is it an improvement for him? And he stays in P6 then. but I think he's still got another lap time. Qualifying is done and dusted, so this is Josh's final lap to see if he can improve or not. Scott Dodds, the rest of them out there on the circuit, I haven't mentioned Scott Dodds in P10. Christian Chandler looks like he's struggling. Here comes Jake Garrett across the line now. Is it pole? I don't think it is. Menendez goes up into P4, so he finally gets a good lap on the board there. He was pushed into P11, but gets a decent lap and is up to P4. What about Phil Fisher there in P3? In the pit lane he goes. Ewan Small is out of turn number 4, I think it is. And now let's see what Ewan Small could do. Dominated the race back at the first GP once he was left alone. But here, it looks like it's more challenging for him. So let's see then. Has that week on holiday, him being away from the sim, him being away from racing, has he lost any? Well, he hasn't lost it all. He's just trying to regain it, because sometimes when you go on holiday and you're away from it, you got to readjust and get back into the rhythm again. That's what happens, because sometimes you can make a mistake now and then because you not have the feeling for it, if that makes sense. But here's Ewan Small out the final 2 corners. You can see him going off the track there, and of course the final corner. So I don't think Ewan Small is actually on a... No, he's not. Josh Evanjo, we mentioned, who had a few seconds left to spare on his final lap. Here he is, around turn 9, now into 10. And this will be his last chance to see if he can improve on that 7th place there. And let's see then what Josh can do in P7. Can he improve? Let's find out now. And I think he stays in P7. But Josh and Wichtrup in P7 and P8 set the exact same lap time as each other then. That's incredible around here, especially on ACC. Anyways, the qualifying is done and dusted. There's your pole sitter, which is Harry Palmer. Dylan Crosby. Dylan? Dominic Crosby, sorry. I got a mate called Crosby, and his first name's Dylan. So apologies about that one. But it looks like he's ready for the race.
We have some wet conditions. Remember that cars are slippery. Watch your braking distance.
Nice advice there from the team radio course to suggest the drivers to be very careful on the curves as well. Will it be a mad dash into turn 1? It's not a standing start, it's a rolling start, as we always have here on ACC. But we've got some fancy contenders up there in the field. Surprisingly, I don't think that Phil is not inside the top 10 in the championship, I don't think, judging by the way the standings are. He finished in 7th back at the first GP. This is the highest he's been so far this season, has Phil. Can he keep it up? We know he's a very good driver, we know he's always there when he needs to be, but it's just piecing those puzzles together to try and get the best and try to get the top. We haven't even talked about the Hungarian Grand Prix just yet, but if we do get a null in this race, let's say if this race has a bit of a boring timing period, that's when we'll talk about the Hungarian Grand Prix. But it's all about ACC here tonight here in Austria, although we did have an Austrian Grand Prix in Formula 1 a few months ago, or a month ago or two, and that ended in contact. Will Jake Garrett get any redemption after spinning at the first GP? Can Harry Palmer go from 2nd to 1st? He's on a roll, he's on a charge so far, as Harry Palmer really has improved in the last few races. Close to a podium, I think, back in Valencia. He was quite far away back in Imola, but he doesn't have to worry about Imola because that didn't count. And that's what I was saying about Jake Garrett. If Imola counted, Jake Garrett will be far behind the championship because he spun as well out of turns 6 and 7, the Villeneuve chicane. So looking for him, that race didn't count, otherwise we pushed further back. But there's 3 minutes left to go before we get racing or go on the formation lap, and once those 3 minutes are up, we can see some action. But during this time period, I will pop off to the toilet and be back with you very shortly. Right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The race will be underway in a minute's time. We've got the formation lap as well, and they'll go side by side, double file on the formation lap, and we can get racing at the Austrian Grand Prix. Unfortunately, not the turnout we wanted, only 18 on the circuit tonight. Usually we have about over 30 of them, but we can still have good racing even with reduced numbers as well. Can Harry Palmer get his first win of the season? Can Jake Garrett get any redemption and try and put himself back in contention where he should be? But has made a few mistakes this season, and also his internet has let him down. He's got a booster as well to boost his internet, but there's 30 seconds left before we get on the formation lap. It is a wet race, of course, so we could see some spicy drama on the first opening lap of this race. Tyres will need to be warmed up on the formation lap too. Make sure they're up to temperature, try and avoid the curbs as the lights go on for the drivers. Obviously
10 seconds.
that's the rule in this game. You've got to have your lights on, otherwise you'll pick yourself up a penalty. And their engines are on. Looks like Dominic Crosby is in the pit lane then. So that's a pit lane start, unfortunately, for Dominic. And this 1 hour race should be underway as the formation lap is on. And I'm still ill as well. I know it's been a long time since you've not heard me. I know it's been a long time since I've been ill-free, but hopefully I can do the best performance for you tonight, and we'll see how things go. This should be quite an interesting race. Harry Palmer looks like he's on form so far. They've done a lot of practice in the wet conditions, have all 18 drivers as they were out there. During when the stream started, Josh Evandro spun out of turn 8 before we flicked on board with Jake Garrett, as I wanted to get some more information, but no mistakes can be afforded. There's no safety cars to help out. There's no red flags, I don't think. I've never seen a red flag on this game. Well, I've not really seen any major crashes there either. But there are yellow flags, of course. No overtaking when a yellow flag comes out. Christian Chamo, I dare say, is out of position in P13. What can he do from the lower end of the field? What can Michael Echo do in P11? Scott Dodds, once again, doing a great job. If you do hear me go quiet for a few seconds, that's because I muted my mic, as I have got that cough, unfortunately, still. I'm not ill, well, I am ill, but I don't have any pain or anything, I don't have any problems, obviously, other than this cough. I don't feel ill. It's just this cough that I'm looking to get rid of very quickly, because it is irritating coughing every time I speak to somebody, or talk in general. Luckily, I've got the option now to instead of like press the drive immediately. As you can see, that the McLaren Buzz Lightyear car sliding through turn 6 and turn 7, and I've got the option too, if I want to go on drive as well. Usually it's return to garage that I have to do first, but yeah, I managed to adjust that setting. But we should get racing underway shortly around here at the Austrian Grand Prix. It's always been a good track for overtaking, of course, but here in ACC could be a very different story with the rain. How many people will struggle in this rain? Who will be the ones that get caught out by these wet conditions? How daring are these drivers be pushing in the opening stages? Some drivers find the grip better than the others. Some people can adapt better than the others as well. You've got to have your wits about you. You've got to be very confident as well. And we'll see what happens around this final corner. These drivers have had a bit of practice in the race or the practice session, so they should know ideally where the grip is and where to brake and when to get the power, etc. And avoid the curves. But we should be underway very shortly as we go on board with the leader then to see what happens down into turn 1. And it is green flag racing. Said that a bit too soon. The checker flag's right there. That's the wrong one. But yes, we are underway for the Austrian Grand Prix. And we'll see gets a better start then. It looks like Jake Garrett then alongside Harry Palmer as we head down to turn 1. Harry Palmer's got the outside line. Carries the speed. Stays ahead. There's Phil off the track. Makes contact with Menendez there as he might be demoted down the order. More people going off the track there. It looks like a BMW. That looks like Ewan Small, who's been pushed further back there. So he's lost a few places too. It looks like Phil's lost a lot of places too down into P5 Egos. They're both in the BMW, of course. We climb towards turn 2 we go. Nathan Booth up into second place, but the thing is glitched as always. Don't know why it does that. It's like a repeat of F1. You can see a few cars going side by side. Out of the corner, that's number 10 of Human Small. They're trying to make a move on Nathan Booth, but couldn't quite do it. Menendez has moved up to 1 place as they went side by side into turn 1. But unfortunately, going side by side into turn 1 never works out. One of you is be bound to push off the track. But here we go into turn 4 then. You can see that Josh is defending aggressively and hard to keep the guys behind him as much as he can. But there's the number 8 there. That's like Sebastian Wittrup in P8 in the BMW looking to take on. I think it is, as I have a look right now, these timing things are not really updated, so hopefully they get updated soon to put them in the right order. And yes, we finally get put in the right order. So Phil has lost a lot of positions. Michael Echo, oh, there's a spinner. Is that Phil who's just spun at turn 8? It looks like it was. Is it him? I think it is. I don't think it's Phil Fisher. No, it's not. It's somebody else. I think it's a BMW. Is that Taupe? But yeah, I'm not quite sure who that was who's just spun out of the corner. But anyways, we ran off lap 1. Harry Palmer still leads this race. Jake Garrett looks like he's under pressure from Menezes right behind him too, putting pressure for P2. Harry Palmer looks like he got his control so far. Ewan Small, who lost a few places. Nathan Booth, who gained a few places, up into P4 now. So it looks like that spinner was Scott Dodds, I think, in the Ford. It was Scott Dodds. I was thinking it was a BMW, but it's not a BMW driver. It was a Ford driver. So Scott went for a spin, unfortunately. He's down into 17th place. Any moves being down into turn number 3. There's Phil Fisher in PA looking to try and regain some lost ground. Down the inside goes Jacob Booth on Diary. And let's see if he can try and make a move then. Exiting turn number 3. And let's see who gets the better traction. Better straight line speed going down into turn 4. And Jacob Booth looks like he's got the advantage. No, there's contact, and I think he's spun and hit the wall. And he's rejoined in the middle of the circuit, but luckily gets out of the way. So what on earth happened there between those two? It looks like Jacob Booth had it under cover, but along the lines, they made contact going down the straight, which is quite odd. So lost a lot of time, unfortunately, and a lot of places to go with it. And he's demoted down probably into P17 or 18, depending how far back Crosby is. I think Crosby's still in last place, which he is. Jacob Booth will fall down to 17th place. What a shame, because he looks like he's trying to get himself inside the top 10. Jacob Booth has struggled this season and looking to try and take up. But here is Sebastian Wittrup versus Phil Fisher, and Wittrup does get ahead of Phil, and 2 BMWs line astern puts themselves 7th and 8th there. And Christian Chamo, who had struggled in qualifying, started down to P13, is now up to P9, so he is inside the top 10. Has he got the race pace, unlike in qualifying? As long as you can make it back in the race, all it matters. It is difficult to overtake around here, but it looks like Jake Garrett is started to eat into Harry Palmer's lead. There they are, the top 2, close contention. Jake Garrett looks like he's got a lot of confidence on the brakes there. Broke later than Harry Palmer. They're probably the strengths and the weaknesses of each car. Harry gets a good launch out of turn 3. And Jake Garrett there, who was struggled in the last few races, back into P2. And he's really lost himself a lot of points in the championship. He can ill afford it, especially in a short season like this, where one race can make a huge difference, even if it's one small mistake. But here was Phil on Sebastian Wittrup. Can he get it back into the breaker zone of turn 4? Nah, he's a bit too far back to do so. Michael Echo is quite close right behind Darby there. And here looks like it's Toe making an overtake on Son. He's up into P13 now. Good overtake up the inside, but I think Taupe gets him back once again, or he's just defending there. But here we are then. Jake Garrett, 5/10 is the gap between himself and Harry Palmer. Where is the best place to overtake around here at the Austrian Grand Prix? 2 heavy breaker zone, turn 3 and turn 4. That's the heaviest breaker zones on the calendar. On the corners, you can have a slight dab on the brake and lift off. But we'll see then where Jake Garrett can pounce as we make our way down into turn number 1 once again. So it looks like the drivers in the wet conditions has survived. Jacob Booth is in the pit lane. Has he sustained too much damage there? And his race is truly done now. But here we are, making the way up the hill towards turn 2 and turn 3. Jake Garrett is in the slipstream. Is he gaining enough? Can he outbrake Harry Palmer going down to turn number 3? No, he can't. He's just a bit too far back. What about Ewan Small, who is putting pressure there on... Actually, Nathan's putting pressure on the Canadian driver to make big contact into turn 3. More bumping barging with each other. Can Ewan Small take advantage of these two squabble? And we're about to find out right now. So Nathan's going side by side with Menendez. There's the number 1 Honda versus the number 17 Macara. We go down into turn number 4. Who is down on the brakes? Looks like Menendez there has been defeated, and Ewan Small is trying to go around the outside too. Into turn number 4 we go. Does Ewan Small have the better exit? Does he have the traction on the corner to go alongside and pass him? No, he doesn't. Menendez just stays in P4, but Ewan Small's quite low on the brakes there, and he's going wheel to wheel. And he actually goes through. Does he go through? Because the side by side now forcing Menendez to go out wide. He's done it. Ewan Small has done it. He puts himself up into P4. But there's the top 2. Harry Palmer's in massive danger there, under threat by Jay Garrett, who's on the back of him. Won't leave him alone, of course. Harry Palmer, is he a great defender? Can he keep Jay Garrett behind? We've seen what he did back in the first GP when he had Josh Evandro and Christian Chamo all over the back of him. But here we are fighting for the lead of the Grand Prix under massive pressure. It is in the hands of Harry Palmer so far, but Jay Garrett is looking to take the crown away. Jay Garrett is used to attacking the lead. We've seen in the last few races he knows what it's like to fight for the lead. Obviously, he lost out back in the first GP, but I don't think it was his fault. It was a slight tap from Ewan Small as we climb up the hill towards turn 2. Heading into turn number 3 we go. And once again, Jay Garrett's just a bit too far back, but it looks like he gets better exits out of corners like this one into turn 3. Does he have the traction out of turn number 3 to try and get closer towards Harry Palmer, get the run down on the straight towards turn number 4? And let's see if he's down on the brakes or not. I think he's just a bit too far back to make any sort of lunge going down there without outbraking himself and putting himself into the gravel. And he is a bit too far back there. So Harry Palmer there will be against the ropes for the whole race. Nathan Booth, Ewan Small, Menendez and Josh Evandro all in this quartet fighting for the podium. Menendez lost 2 places in the last lap with Nathan there going around the outside, and also Ewan Small taking the inside line too. Forced him to go out wide. But there's the battle for P1 and P2 as the gaps do update. We did see Harry Palmer in qualifying go off the road twice at the exit of turn 8. But if he does that in this race, it'll be very costly indeed, because Jay Garrett will slip through. At any sort of opportunity given to him, he will sneak through. Sebastian Wichtrup and Dog Taylor fighting for P10 and P11. But here we are then with Jake Garrett and Harry Palmer. Where is Hobbsy in all this? He's down in P17, unfortunately. In last place is Matthew Hobbsy. And here we are going down into turn number 1 we go. Ewan Small to close the gap towards Nathan Booth then. Ewan Small wants to get back on the podium here at the Austrian Grand Prix after, for his standards, not a great qualifying, but looking to try and transform it into a decent race. And we'll see then, quite close behind, but still too far back. 2 or 3 tenths in this game is still a bit too far back. In Formula 1, it's absolutely nothing because you have the DRS, you have the overtake button, etc. Where in these cars, it's just about the fuel mix to turn up the engine to the max, of course. Depending on what car you're in, the modes are quite different in these cars. As we head down towards turn 4 again, Jake out too far back, Ewan Small also too far back. Menendez has lost time towards third and fourth, so Menendez looks like he's struggling there. And Josh Evandro is putting big pressure on the Honda driver in front of him, and so he is dropping backwards. Oops, sorry about that, I don't mean to do that. I don't want to accuse Jake out of cheating there, unless he is, of course. But anyway, he's pressed the wrong button again. But it looks like Harry Palmer is doing well in defence, and he'll be looking over his shoulders for the rest of the race to see what Jake Garrett is doing, looking in his mirrors constantly under massive pressure. But how well can Harry Palmer sustain the pressure from the guys behind? I don't really know what it's like in terms of ACC, because it's my 4th time commentating in ACC with Harry Palmer. In F1, he was quite decent defending and attacking. He did have his moments, but if you remember Season 9 and Season 10, that was a great race between himself and Lozano Zero, of course. Fighting for the lead and lost out 3 times, I think. But as we exit turn 1, Jake Garrett losing a bit of time towards Harry Palmer, and Josh Evandro is in the pit lane. Now, with 10 minutes into this race, what are the requirements in this Grand Prix? Why are they pitted this early? I don't think it's because of damage. I've not seen any damage to state of the car. Is it because the wet tyres do not hold up quite well in these conditions? I don't have a lot of information about tyres on this game, unlike in F1. In F1, I could tell you why he pitted, but here, in the unknown, Sebastian Wichtrup has also pitted. So hopefully it's a scheduled start, but like I said, it's a bit too early to be pitted at this stage in this race. It doesn't look like the weather is easing off either. Scott Dodds is back inside the top 10, I think he is, but he's fighting there with Hansen. Hansen goes a bit deep into turn 3, and Scott Dodds puts himself up into P11. Unless, of course, Hansen can fight back on the exit, which he will do, and try and go side by side with the Ford Mustang. As now we go into turn 4 we go. I think Scott should ideally stay ahead with the inside line and the racing line too, unless he goes deep on the braking, which he doesn't do. So Josh Evandro is back on the circuit then, and that's his one stop. Unless they want to pit, maybe these wet tyres are quite durable. I think it might rain throughout the entire race. Maybe the wet tyre is quite durable and no problem with tyre wear at all, so maybe they go for a long stint on their one-stop strategy, because you have to do a one-stop. It's a mandatory one-stop in this league. But as we head down towards turn 1 we go, Ewan Small is still putting pressure on Nathan Booth in front of us, or behind us, while these two continue squabbling away. Jake Garrett, look, being so frustrated, being stuck behind Harry Palmer. Where is his best chance to strike? Will Harry Palmer suffer from the pressure of Jake Garrett there? Doing quite well so far. I'm not seeing any obvious mistakes there from Harry Palmer. Not outbreaking himself. Obviously, I don't want to curse him at the same time, but not seeing him lose the car or outbreaking himself too much. So he's doing quite well, is Harry Palmer. Jake Garrett's a very fast driver indeed, has a lot of experience in league racing, been doing it for years and years. Gran Turismo, he also raced on MotoGP. He likes his racing games, does Jake Garrett. Been on the wheel for such a long time too, so he's got a lot of experience in that. I think he plays GT7 as well, does Jake Garrett. The pace has improved a lot for Harry Palmer recently, when he first started out. But he's found a lot of time in this game. He's found his rhythm. He's found something in this game to put himself amongst the rest of the field. The number 1, of course, for Harry Palmer, number 7, sorry, in the McLaren, defending from the Lamborghini. I think you can abuse the channel limits around this circuit. We do see endurance cars go out quite wide, but not too wide, of course. Where are the channel limits around the circuit? Looks like Tope has been shuffled backwards there. Menendez has got past him. He's back into P8. Here's Menendez. Menendez has lost a lot of time too. He was fighting for P5 at one stage. He was behind Nathan, but for some reason, Menendez has just dropped backwards there. I'm not quite sure what's going on his side, but he's under pressure. Oh, Scott there almost lost the back end of the car. It looked like he was about to spin in the pit lane, but luckily saved it. And he's still in this fight for P10. Jake Garrett now is currently 1 second behind Harry He's currently 1 second behind Harry Palmer, so he's dropped backwards just a bit there, has Jake. Will he try and fight him later on in this race? Well, just settle down now for the time being. Nathan Booth is holding his own in P3. We haven't spoken to Nathan Booth just yet this season, as obviously we didn't have any podium interviews at the Valencia Grand Prix. He has been on the podium, I think, once this season. As we look through the championship standings, just to reiterate, Harry Palmer is in P3 in the championship standings, but he might overtake Michael Eckholt if it stays like this. So Harry Palmer will be in P2 and gain a lot of points on Ewan Small as well. Ewan Small currently down in P4, trying to minimise the damage in the championship. Damage limitation there, drive for Ewan Small in P4. Adrian Menendez is currently in P4 with Verstappen in 5th ahead of Christian Chamo. Christian Chamo scoring those points will get ahead of Verstappen. Jake Garrett in a P7, which is quite unexpected there for Jake Garrett, considering you've seen him quite a lot at the top of the timing screens, but he has made a mistake now and then, which has cost him dearly in the last few races, being in 7th place and being quite a long way behind, almost 100 points behind Ewan Small. Where can he make the deficit this season? No more mistakes for Jake Garrett this season. He's got his internet sorted out, of course. Harry Palmer's results. He finished P5 in the first race of the season. That was back in round 1, of course. It was around, I think, the first race of the season. I can't exactly remember what the track was. That tells you how bad my memory was at the time. I think you've got a few more changes in the midfield there with Scott and Tobe. We did see that Scott made a few mistakes a lap ago when he almost spun the car in the pit lane, but saved it and lives to fight another day. Does the Scotsman? So we had Indianapolis, Valencia, and Paul Ricard, and we're currently here at the Red Bull Ring. But Jay Garrett is so close, so he was a second behind. Now he's 2 tenths behind. So did he just drop backwards a little bit, try and cool the tyres down? Obviously not recharge the battery because there is no battery mode on these cars. But here he is then. He is so close behind. We're on lap 10 in this Grand Prix with about 43 minutes left to go. Both men yet to make a pit stop, to complete their mandatory pit stop. And let's see what's happened to Josh. Josh is still down in P17. Sebastian, here we are, out of turn 1 then, into turn 2. We're about to see Jay Garrett versus Harry Palmer for the lead of the Grand Prix. And let's see what happens then. Jay Garrett has the inside line going down into turn 2. Can he outbrake him going down? It's the heavy breakers over we go. Yes, he can then. Can Harry Palmer try and get a better exit around the outside to maintain his lead? And now we're going side by side out of the corner then. We continue our fire on the third straight. But it looks like Harry Palmer's got a slight advantage. But Jake Garrett will have the inside line. But no, Harry Palmer just stays ahead unless Jake fancies a move up the inside of turn number 4, which he does do. Can he make a move? No, he can't. Stays behind. So, despite being alongside Harry Palmer, despite being alongside Jake Garrett, he was able to keep the Lamborghini at bay. His heartbeat would have been quite high, but he sustained the pressure really well, did Harry Palmer. But Jay Garrett once again still putting immense pressure on Harry Palmer's shoulders. These two went karting a few weeks ago, I think, or maybe last weekend actually. They went karting on Saturday. But here they are, they meet on track once again in the virtual world. Harry Palmer did miss out to Jay Garrett, but he's currently ahead of him so far for the lead of this race. But for how much longer is the question, because Jay Garrett is putting him under all sorts of pressure. But Harry is keeping it calm, keeping it composed as he should be, fighting back in the right places at the right time. So let's see if he can try and keep this up for the remainder of the 42 minutes left in this race. On to lap 11 we go. In the first corner, Jay Garrett had a fantastic exit run out of turn 1. This time Harry Palmer stays on the inside line. He tries to go around. He went to the left hand side the last time, but he defends the inside line this time, going up towards turn number 3. Does not allow Jay Garrett to find a way through, but he does this time up the inside into turn 3. Was Harry Palmer not defensive and defending enough? And Jay Garrett takes the lead of this race. Was Harry Palmer not defending enough going into turn number 3? Should he have stayed on the inside line to try and keep Jay Garrett at bay? Is there an opportunity to come back at him into turn 4? There is not an opportunity, so he's in P2. But does he have the pace to keep up with Jay Garrett? Can he stay in contention of the McLaren in front of us? Interesting scrap going on for P1 and P2. We swapped the lead of this Grand Prix. It does say Harry Palmer, but it is Jay Garrett who is leading this race as we come towards the middle sector, and there is the change of the lead. Harry Palmer then demoted into P2. Was he a bit lenient in terms of defending into turn number 2? Did he think that Jay Garrett wouldn't go down the inside? But however, the consequences are Garrett is now 3 up into P1, and will he pull away from Harry Palmer? Can Harry Palmer searching for his first win of the season? But now Jay Garrett's through. His task of winning this race will be ever so difficult, unfortunately for him, as Jay Garrett might pull away. We've seen the pace he had behind Harry Palmer. Now being released, will he pull away into the distance and say goodbye to the rest of them? The battle for P4 and P3 is looking quite spicy. Nathan Booth is managing to keep Ewan Small at bay, but for how much longer? The Scotsman there on the Englishman. Then as we make our way now up into turn 2, will Ewan Small fancy a move on the inside? But he's not close enough on this occasion. He is 2 tenths behind. You would have thought that'd be very close, being 2 tenths behind, but trust me, it can be a bit of a margin. Coming out of turn 3 then, heading into the heavy breaker zone of 4, where we've seen another opportunity to overtake him out here. But he's too far back to make any sort of lunge going down into the heavy... into the heavy braking zone. So for those who are just joining then, Jake Garrett is leading this race. So we've only had 3 races. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the 4th race was, but we've only had 3 races: Indianapolis, Valencia, and Paul Ricard. Then, so I'm trying to remember what the 4th race was. But obviously, I think the race got cancelled, didn't it, for round 2, because I think it was England versus the what game was it? Was that got cancelled? I can't actually remember. Was it actually cancelled? Oh, there's a spinner. Is that Harry Palmer who spun? I think it is. Harry Palmer has just spun out of the final corner. And now Nathan Booth and Ewan Small are up into P2 and P3. That's a big mistake. And that mistake has led him to be off the podium into P4. What was likely to be a podium in this Grand Prix has sent spinning away on the final corner. And now he's allowed Ewan Small and Nathan Booth to be up there in P2 and P3 then. So Nathan Booth, who was defending for his life in P3, can breathe a little bit now. He knows he's on the podium. And obviously he wants to finish on the podium. Every single driver wants to finish on the podium. Tries to defend as hard as he can, but maybe the pressure's been relieved just a bit now, as he knows he's on the podium. P2 and P3 will be a great result for him. It'll be his 2nd podium of the season so far, if he keeps up. He finished behind Adrian Menendez, I think it was, at the Valencia Grand Prix. He was just a bit too far behind to try making his sort of impressions on the Canadian driver, who's currently down in P8 so far, in a world of his own, with Michael Eckholt in the PS7. Michael Eckholt finished P4 at the Valencia Grand Prix. Ewan Small didn't have the best of the Valencia Grand Prix either, because I think he got taken out during that race. He fell backwards, didn't he, at the Valencian Grand Prix, but managed to make his way up into P6. We saw that moment between him, Jared Dudley, and Ewan Small coming side by side, with Joshua Banjo also involved in that battle. Matthias Turk, unfortunately, is not here with us tonight. A lot of drivers are missing, of course, for whatever reason. It is summer, so expect people to be on holiday. Tope is looking on the back of the Ferrari. The only Ferrari in this race is Dowry in P10. Tope has struggled this season himself as well. Has the relentless driver. What can he do there? Can he try and find a way past the Ferrari? He's so close to the back of him. Round 1 belonged to Jake Garrett. He won the first race of the season back in Indianapolis with Ewan Small, who made a mistake himself, finished in P2. Then it was Christian Chamo, who finished in 3rd. First race of the season, Jake Garrett took the win and the fastest lap. And he's got a big gap over 2nd place. Jake Garrett is back where he knows he feels comfortable in. Once he's in the lead, he doesn't look back and he continues to pull away. He's quite far behind the championship. You would expect it, as you always know, he's always up there. But mistakes have been made along the way. It's only been 3 races so far. This is the 4th round of the season. But now, is this the moment where he leaves the past behind him, try and focus what's in front of him, and try and regain those lost points in the championship? Harry Palmer's still got the fast lap of the Grand Prix in P4. It looks like Phil is now starting to close in on Harry in front of him. Any podium chances for Harry has dissipated. He's too far away to be back on the podium, unless Ewan Small. But Ewan Small has lost a bit of time towards Nathan Booth there in P2, so he was hounding and harassing him. But looks like he's lost a bit of time now. He's swerved a bit on the straight too. The gap is now 2.3 seconds between Ewan Small and Nathan Booth then, so it looks like he is struggling out there on the circuit so far. Interesting strategy call from Sebastian Wichtrup and Joshua Banjo in P15 and 16. So I wonder why those two pitted. I'm not seeing those two make contact with anybody. Unless it was minor, of course. Maybe they want to come to pit lane, put on a bunch of wet tyres and go towards the end of this race. Don't want to be making 2 stops around here or any circuit, because it's a lot of time gone in your pocket and therefore you're not able to get it back. But now Phil is starting to put pressure on Palmer in front of him. Can Phil sense a P4 coming his way? Harry Palmer's closed the gap a bit towards Ewan Small. The gap was over 8 seconds, that was 7.7. So I wonder if Ewan Small started to struggle ever so slightly in that BMW. We'll find out what the lap time is, as I want to ride on board with him if I can. There he is then in the BMW. Let's see how he's doing so far as we ride on board inside if I can. Can't really see any of his mistakes there from Ewan Small. 2/10 away in the middle sector from his personal best lap time. And Matthew Hobbsey now is in the pit lane 2 to complete his mandatory stop. Harry Palmer, the gap's gone back towards 8.3, so the gap is extended once again between Harry and Ewan Small. And Harry's getting a bit of time on Fisher behind him too, as Christian Chamo and Marco Eckholt are just further behind in that battle. There's Scott Dodds in P9, quite a long way ahead and far away from any threats around him. Sebastian Wetrup, who did pit earlier on in this race, falling down his P14. Quite an early pit stop, it must be said. I had a good camera shot. I don't know how to get the camera shot back, but look at that. Phil, it was really struggling coming out of turn number 1. There was a camera shot I really liked, but for some reason I can't find it again. As we make our way now into turn number 3 for Phil in P5, sorry. Can he close in on Harry Palmer in front of him? Harry Palmer's pulled away so slightly. 1.4 seconds now is the gap between himself and Phil behind. Christian Chamo also there in P6. As he had a very difficult qualifying session, but here in the race up into P6. And let's see if we can try and find any more places. Marco Eckholt to P7 there with Menendez right behind him. They're quite close from the circuit, but quite lonely together. But it looks all steady now. Ewan Small, I think, has lost a lot of time towards Nathan Booth there. I will want to return to garage to find out more. So the gap now is 2.6 seconds between Ewan Small and Nathan Booth. So Nathan Booth is looking like he's breathing ever so calmly now in P2. His heart rate probably gone down now with Ewan Small putting big pressure behind him. So I wonder what happened to Ewan Small pace there in P3. Did he use up a bit more tyre? Are the tyres overheated around here in Austria? We've got a combination of high speed, mid speed corners around here, heavy braking zones too, and heavy traction zones. And Harry Palmer has been demoted into P5 actually. So Phil is up into P4. Did Harry Palmer make another mistake? And I think he bounced over turn number 1 too. And he's got the track for good measure. And here comes Chamo. Harry Palmer is really struggling now in this race. Ever since he lost the lead of this race, he's made too many mistakes, and those mistakes have cost him dearly. Looking to find Menendez in the championship for P2, and Marco Eckholt as well. He finished in second place, didn't he? I think back at the French GP when Ewan Small won that race. Round 2. Where did he finish there? I think he finished inside the top 5. Yeah, he finished in 5th place at the French GP. So this could be his worst finish of this season after starting on pole for Harry Palmer. Wet conditions maybe not suited. Maybe he's losing tyre as well. Losing a bit of tyres. Actually, his worst race of the season was P12 when he finished there at the Indianapolis Grand Prix. And after Indianapolis, he picked up a podium along the way as well, so it wasn't too bad. P5 and P2 and P12, but here he is in P6. Nathan Booth looking like he's on for a second consecutive podium. There is still half an hour left to go in this race. Ewan Small is currently 3 seconds behind Nathan Booth in P2. Got a big gap over the rest of the field then, so Ewan Small's got a big gap behind him and also got a big gap in front of him. Wonder if Nathan Booth's got any more pace in store. Was he tyre saving in the early stint, or has he just found more confidence in the car? I don't know if he's closing on Jake Gower in front of him. Jake Gower looking really comfortable in P1 there. Unfazed and unchallenged so far. Overtook Harry Palmer in the right place at the right time. And Michael Eckholt is in the pit lane too to make his one and mandatory pit stop. So we are having a bit of null on the racetrack.
Halfway through. Keep it up.
And we are halfway through indeed. Tope and Dari are in the pit lane. Those two are fighting with each other early on. That's a nice livery there on the Ferrari car, number 36. And Tope is also in the pit lane too to put on a brand new set of tyres and more fuel in the car. Hansen is currently a lap down, unfortunately for him. Matthew Hobbsy P16. Dominic Crosby. Dominic? I don't know why I keep saying that. Yeah, that's his name. Dominic Crosby in P10 doing a great job so far. Still yet to make a pit stop though, so let's see where he rejoins in comparison to the rest of the guys that have pitted. Scott Dodds doing a great job in P7. We did see a few iffy moments from him where he lost the car, especially in the penultimate corner. The back end just complaining on him. But Ewan Small, the gap is now 5.2. So he is losing a lot of time towards Nathan Booth. Nathan Booth is only losing fractions amount of time towards Jake Garrett. The gap is about 4.7, 4.8. The gap goes up about 1 or 2 tenths every single lap between these two. But Ewan Small just can't find his pace like he was able to, putting pressure on Nathan in front of him. So are these tyres for him starting to fade away? Phil is gaining a little bit on Ewan Small, but the gap is quite big between the two. I'm not quite sure if Phil in P4 could try and close in on his fellow BMW teammate. Christian Chamo, 2 weeks ago he was at the podium, now he's in P6. He's in the pit lanes also to put on a brand new set of tyres. So let's see where he rejoins in comparison to this. He was in that battle with Sebastian, I think it was Eckholtz, Dodds and Crosby. And we'll see where he rejoins in comparison to those guys. Out of the pit lane comes right now. We've got a few cars passing by. Josh Evandro pitted when we were 10 minutes into this race. And actually, Harry Palmer's now started to gain on Phil. I think Phil has made a mistake somewhere because I think he was 9 seconds behind Ewan Small. Now, he's 12 seconds behind. So he's lost 3 seconds in one lap. What happened to him? Did he have a slight moment out of a corner? However, both Harry Palmer and Phil Fisher are in the pit lane to get rid of those tyres, and Ewan Small also in the pit lane too. But Jake Garrett has got it under control in P1, looking very comfortable for him. Nathan Booth in P2 doing a sterling job as well. I think we've got one retirement in this race. Unfortunately, somebody is out of this race. I'm not quite sure who it is. We had 19 in this session, now we're down to 18, including me as a commentator. There we are. Trying to figure out who it is that retired from this race. Yeah, I don't exactly remember who retired, but unfortunately they're out of this Grand Prix. We did see somebody in the I think it's Jacob Booth actually. I did see him in the pit lane. Yeah, it is Jacob Booth. Remember, he spun and hit the wall on that straight. So yeah, Jacob Booth unfortunately is out of this race. And you can see that Michael Eckholt there sliding through turn number 1. So, Phil Fisher still in the pit lane. It's a very long pit lane indeed. But why is Phil in the pit lane still? That's a very long pit stop there for Phil. Harry Palmer's jumped him. And for some reason, there he is, finally released. So, what was the reason behind that pit stop? Did he hit the wall somewhere? I can't imagine where he would have hit the wall and managed to stay on the tracks. Or managed to keep ahead of Harry Palmer. But he must have had damage because he just lost a lot of time. And Harry Palmer is a long way clear of Phil, so Phil somewhere on the circuit has made a big mistake. Menendez is now up to P3, but he's still yet to pit, so we know he's going to drop down the order once he makes a pit stop. And Dominic Crosby in P6, the South African Dutchman in 6th place. They're still yet to make a pit stop. He qualified last year in qualifying, but still running a decent race for him. Josh Evandro started to put pressure on Christian Chamo, but the tyre deficit will be big between those two because we know that Christian Chamo pitted a few laps ago, whereas Josh pitted about 25 minutes ago. I think it was 25 minutes ago he pitted. Sebastian Wichtrup also pitted on the same lap as Jay Gower once again continues to extend his lead over Nathan Booth in P2 by 6.1 seconds. Gaining chunks of time, but will Nathan Booth respond towards the undercut threat from Ewan Small being on better tyres? Currently there in P4 is Ewan Small, but Phil Fisher in P11, the German in the BMW in the ILT team for the endurance races. He's got some mighty pace, but he's made a few mistakes now and then this season, has Phil. We did see him involved in contact. I think it was at the Valencia Grand Prix. He was fighting quite hard. I think he was against Verstappen at the time too. He's in the pit lane again. I think he's going for another pit stop. And surely something major must have happened. Nathan Booth is in the pit lane too to go for his first stop. But Phil, what a shame. Will he retire from this race because he'll be a lap down for sure, making a second pit stop in the space of 2 laps. And dismal race there, unfortunately, for ILT Phil. And for the second time this season, will not pick up a decent result, fortunately. I think his highest finish so far this season has been in 4th place. As I check the results, I tried to memorise the results as well, quite difficult. Shouldn't be that difficult, but I don't exactly memorise everything. He hasn't scored a podium this season, that's for sure. He finished in 7th place for round number 2. In round 1, he finished outside the top 10 in 11th place at the Indianapolis Grand Prix. Paul Ricard was the last race, I think it was. And he finished outside the top 10 again, was Phil. So Phil has always been up there, but something has always happened to him during this season. His highest finish, being outside the top 10, is disappointing for him. And once again, he will not score any points unless he stays, of course, in the session. He comes out of the pit lane in 15th place. But Harry Palmer and Nathan Booth in a battle then. Harry Palmer has got ahead of Nathan Booth. Ewan Small is up as a P3. So Nathan Booth has just came out of the pit lane and is lost of the podium towards Small and Palmer. Did Nathan Booth make a mistake somewhere? That's a big thing I missed in this Grand Prix. Apologies about that one, of course. Obviously, if it was F1, I would not have missed that. But Ewan Small up to P3. That's a big undercut as well. It's so big that Harry Palmer has managed to get ahead of him, considering he was a long way behind after 2 mistakes from Harry Palmer himself. Menendez is still yet to pit. Jake Garrett has pitted as well. But Nathan Booth has lost a lot of time now, and he finds himself right behind Harry Palmer. Ewan Small's chances of a podium could be back on, considering he lost a lot of time in the first stint. So, an unlikely podium now. It wasn't unlikely, sorry, because he was still in P3, as Menendez hasn't pitted yet. Nathan Booth could still be on course for a podium, but now it's the battle for the final podium spot between Harry Palmer. Oh, there's a spinner. Who's that? Is that Ewan Small? No, it's not Ewan Small. I think it's a Ford. It is a Ford. That's Scott Dodds who's spun at the final corner. And this mistake has cost him big time now. His chances of finishing inside the top 10 are slim. I usually see the BMW cars as blue cars, but obviously there's a massive difference between Scott Dodds and Ewan Small's livery. Every time I see a blue car, I always think it's Ewan Small, even though the car's not exactly blue, is it? The logo is blue, but the car is not. Nowhere near blue. It's yellow with a bit of white as well around it. But Scott Dodds, once again, has spun, and he's down into 15th place there. Big mistake from him. But here we are then. Who will take the final spot? We've got 20 minutes left to go in this race. Anything can happen. We've seen quite a few mistakes from people so far during this race. I'm not quite sure what happened to Nathan Booth, unless anybody else knows in the comments section. If you're watching this race or spectating, let me know what happened to him. Surely had a bad pit stop somewhere. But this will help Ewan Small in the championship not to lose too many points against his rivals like Jake Garrett. But Harry Palmer going out wider once again. I thought he'd go off the track because he went so wide at turn 8 there. But this is a big chance for Harry Palmer again to try and get back on the podium, because he thought his podium chances were over. It looked like they were over for sure in that first stint where he made a big mistake and spun twice. But now he's back in contention of the podium. We know that Adrian Menendez has still yet to make a pit stop. Dominic Crosby doing a great job in P6, not too far behind these guys, but we know he hasn't pitted yet. There's 2 people who haven't pitted, Dominic Crosby and Adrian Menendez in P2. Those 2 haven't pitted just yet, so expect them to make a pit stop anytime soon. But we know Menendez likes to stay out there for a bit. I think Menendez is one of those drivers that stays out for quite a long time. I think I mentioned that before, where in other races of the season where he's not been in the lead, he always tends to stay out there for quite a long time. I think he's one of those drivers, unless I'm mistaken, of course, by other people doing the exact same thing. But there was a driver who always used to stay out there for such a long time, and he pitted with about 2 minutes left to go. Not quite sure who that was at the time, if I can remember. I think it was Menendez who was one of those drivers that did it. I think Eckhart was also one of the drivers that stayed out there for all the race until one or two laps. But Harry Palmer's gone wide at turn 7 and turn 8, or turn 7 at the exit of it, picking up a bit of gravel on the exit there. Won't do his tyres any favours with the bar of grip he lost as well, so going to be very careful now with Nathan lurking in the rear wing. Menendez has pitted then, so these two will be promoted, back towards second and third place. There's 18 minutes left to go in this session. The pressure is high for Nathan Booth to get back on the podium after second place looking like it was his. But interested to hear his point of view if he does finish on the podium, to hear what happened. The gap between Harry Palmer and Newman Small is quite large, 8.6 seconds then. So the main battle now is between these two. Which one of these two will get a podium? They both deserve it. Harry Palmer did take pole, but mistakes were made in the process. Here is Nathan Booth from the inside. Will he outbrake himself? I think he will. And Harry Palmer does the switchback underneath, and through he goes. Great switchback indeed. Anticipated Nathan Booth outbreaking himself there. And he's back down into P4. Great attempt, but just outbreaking himself there. And Harry Palmer was able to slip back through. So more chances still available for Nathan to try and see if he can overtake. Michael Echo is not too far behind. Obviously, if the more these two battle, the more that Michael will get involved as well. Michael's not too far behind. He is there within shot. But the more these two battle could bring Michael into play. He's not 5 seconds behind. He's about 3 seconds behind, maybe 2. Let's have a look right now. He is currently, as he makes his way towards the intermediate split, 4 seconds behind. So the gap was 5.3. Now it's 4 seconds. So Michael Eckholt has just gained 1.3 seconds on Nathan Booth after attempting to move into turn number 2. The heavy braking zone. Nathan looking to go up the inside, but just broke too late and went out wide. And Harry Palmer was able to take the place back again. But the man in P1, the man that took the lead away from Harry Palmer, hasn't looked back since. He's done a fantastic job so far in P1. Nothing should go wrong for Jake Garrett in P1. He can't afford any mistakes. He's had a lot of mistakes this season. And look at that, the gap is 21 seconds between Newman Small and Jake Garrett. So there should be no need for Jake Garrett to push too hard. He can relax a little bit in P1 there. Well, he can relax until the end of the race if he wants to. Make sure he don't pick up penalties for track limits. Make sure he doesn't go out wide and hit the wall or spin. There should be no reason for Jake Garrett to make any mistakes now from here to the end of this race. But Nathan Booth has lost a bit of time towards Harry Palmer. The gap is now 1.4 seconds. So Harry Palmer can breathe just a little bit until Nathan arrives on the scene once again. But Harry would have been kicking himself in the first stint by throwing away a potential podium. But now it's very pivotal for Harry's race not to pick up a penalty or not to make any sort of mistake like he did in the first stint. This is the second bite of the bullet for Harry Palmer there to get back on the podium. Not every day that a podium opens up once you make a big mistake, but it has for Nathan Booth. Nathan Booth is getting back to him, but Nathan Booth there, who drove a fantastic race to keep Newman Small at bay, whilst Newman Small was attacking, able to pull away from him, but something must have happened in the pit lane. I'm not quite sure what happened. I think it was a very long stop or something went wrong for him. Did he spin or make a mistake when he went to the pit lane? I'm not quite sure actually. So we head through turn 1. Nathan Booth, the last time we saw the gap was 1.4 seconds. Nathan Booth is now a second behind Harry Palmer, so starting to gain a bit of time recovering from that big mistake he did into turn 3. The game is not done yet for Harry Palmer, as Nathan Booth there, much confident on the brakes, it must be said, was able to close a bit of time on the brakes, was Nathan Booth. The gap is 1 second, but it will change in the intermediate split. As we head down turn 4, that looks like it's about a 5/10 gap between Nathan and Harry Palmer. Can Harry Palmer keep it at bay? He had a pole position, but he doesn't want to throw it away after such a big mistake in the first stint, which cost him hugely. Should have been ahead of Ewan Small if he didn't make that mistake, but unfortunately that's the downfalls of racing. Let's see what the gap is now. The gap is 5 tenths. I predicted that 5 tenths, and now it is 5 tenths between Harry and Nathan. I wonder what caused Ewan Small to drop off the pace in the first stint, because we know he was fighting Nathan Booth for second place, but towards the end, near the end of the stint, he dropped off dramatically by 5 seconds, and it looked like he might be under pressure for third place as well. So whatever the problem was, Ewan Small has rectified it. He can breathe just a little bit. He's got a big distance between himself and Harry Palmer to settle down in. Sebastian Wittrup and Josh Evandro back to where they were in the opening stage of this Grand Prix. They went for a very early pit stop. I'm not quite sure why that was the case, but however, it doesn't look like it's affected them too much, although Adrian Menendez is putting pressure on Sebastian now. He says he's 2 tenths behind, but he's 1.5 seconds behind. So whatever happened to Adrian, he's lost a lot of time towards his fellow rival there in P7. Dominic Crosby has done a fantastic job, and unfortunately Phil has retired from this race, so 2 people have gone out of this race. That's Jacob Booth and ILT Phil. ILT Phil has probably gone to join Jackbox, as Jackbox is on in ILT. Keep an eye on Nathan Booth there. We never know what could happen between these two. The gap is 6 tenths in the first sector, but as we come towards the intermediate split now, I think the gap might have increased slightly, unless I'm looking at the wrong driver, of course. What's the gap now? 3.1. So Nathan Booth has had an absolute stinker of a lap. So Nathan Booth looks like he made another mistake, unfortunately, and it's cost him hugely. Harry Palmer, out of everything that happened in the first stint, making big mistakes, might be able to recover this. We've got 12 minutes left in this Grand Prix. Anything could still happen. Concentration will be higher, of course. Chamo and Hobbsy are in the pit lane again. Chamo is in the pit lane for the second time. He was inside the top 10, but unfortunately has to make another pit stop. And Matthew Hobbsy, nine laps down, so I dare say he's out of the Grand Prix, but just watching on. Obviously, some of these guys are in a party with each other, so maybe Hobbsy's in the pit lane to just watch and coach whoever he's coaching. But I don't think he'll be coaching Harry Palmer or Jacob Booth or Nathan Booth, because they're both in the party together. It'd be quite unfair if he does that. Menendez is ahead of Sebastian Wittrup, so the gap was 1.6 a lap ago. But gain that time back. Here comes Menendez up the inside. Oh, he goes off the track. And that was a very optimistic move, it must be said. And it cost him hugely there. Sebastian Wittrup tries to get the place back, but unfortunately outbroke himself. Luckily, Menendez had good reactions there, not to get caught out by that move. I think Wittrup might have to focus on Crosby now. The gap is 6 seconds. But what can Nathan Booth do? Has he extended the gap? No, he hasn't. The gap keeps extending between Nathan and Harry. There's the man who's currently leading this race. Jake Garrett, ever since he overtook Harry Palmer, has never looked back. He's been in control in this Grand Prix. 22 seconds is the gap between himself and Ewan Small. So even in the lead of this Grand Prix, he is still extending that gap over his championship rival, albeit he is about 50-60 points behind. All it takes is one race where you DNF, where your rival DNFs and you're back in your championship contention, because the gaps, the championship points, there's 50 points to win a Grand Prix, or 52 points. And let's say if Jake wins and Ewan Small retires, even though he's quite a long way back in the championship, looking at the numbers, in that one race, Jake Garrett can be back in contention of championship. So it's very crucial now for these boys not to lose any races or not to have any problems in terms of technical difficulties. Obviously, it's out of their control sometimes. 10 minutes left in this race. It's been a great race so far. We've seen some good battles, but however, Nathan Booth has gained 7 tenths on Harry Palmer. Could the battle for P3 still be on between Harry Palmer and Nathan Booth? Hopefully it is, because we will see some racing action. I'm sorry about that. That's supposed to be my mic. I pressed the button, but it wasn't muted, so I apologise if you heard that noise in the background there. So what's the gap? 1.8. So the gap was 3.1 about 1 or 2 laps ago. The gap is down to 1.8. So this could be climatic towards the end of this race between P3 and P4. Nathan Booth versus Harry Palmer. So Nathan, once again, despite making a mistake, is gaining time on Harry Palmer. And Harry Palmer is being put under big pressure again into uncomfortable territory. And let's see what the gap is now. 1.5, so that's the extra 3/10 now between Nathan and Harry. This race has absolutely flown by as we head down turn 1 once again. Can Nathan sense a podium on the card? His one and only attempt so far happened at a turn 2. He outbroke himself, allowed Harry Palmer to come back through. Then when that happened, there was a period where Nathan Booth lost a lot of time. The gap was 3 seconds. Now it's 1.4. We could see a 5 for P3. The gap keeps fluctuating all the time. It's not constant in these cars. It's not stable like it is in F1. It's so easy to make a mistake in these cars. The dry or the wet conditions. One slight slip up could be a big consequence. And Michael Eckholt is dropping time towards Nathan Booth. Josh Evangelo looks comfortable in P6, I dare say. There's Menendez. I don't think Menendez will catch him. Josh Evangelo pitted within 10 minutes of this race. And still in P6. The gap is 12 seconds behind, so I don't think Menendez will catch Josh unless something major happens. Majority of drivers are McLarens inside the top 10, with a few BMWs in there, with a Lexus, Nissan, Honda, and Lamborghini who's leading this race. The other Lamborghini is down in P15, who's had a horrendous race, Christian Chavo, after finishing on the podium last race. Harry Palmer, though, looking ever so uncomfortable. You can see the back of the car twitching just a bit on the exit there. It doesn't look comfortable, does Harry Palmer. The gap is 1.1. What will it be towards the line? It is 6/10 then. Now, this should be entertaining. This should be exciting. Nathan Booth is currently back in the DRS range. Sorry, there's no DRS, sorry. I'm used to saying that, of course, being an F1 commentator myself. But he's back within striking range of Harry Palmer. Now, with his second attempt, has been more successful than his first attempt. He knows where his strengths and weaknesses lies in the car. He knows where Harry Palmer's weaknesses are too. Where's the best chance for Nathan to overtake? He's got to be fully alongside him before the braking zone and try to overtake him without going too deep like he did, because he was nowhere near alongside him going into turn number 3, and he outbroke himself that way. So maybe try and get a better exit out of turn 1, slipstream up the hill, and try and go alongside him before turn 3. So Harry Palmer then, can he survive 6 minutes of Nathan hounding him for the podium? Apologies if I said that a bit weirdly, because I was about to cough as soon as I said that. But Harry Palmer has been under all sorts of pressure during this Grand Prix. He lost the lead. Will he lose a podium towards Nathan Booth? He deserves it. They both deserve it, but unfortunately there's only enough room for 3 people. But which one of these two will it be? Will it be Nathan or Harry? It could. Ewan Small could have lost the podium too after his pace dissipated in the first stint. Completely disappeared. But I'm not quite sure what happened to Nathan. But here we are then, 5 minutes left to go, and Nathan is starting to run out of time. There's not much time left for Nathan to try and make an overtake. He's got to do it now. Oh, it goes a bit deep. It's turn number 1, and he goes off the track. Does Nathan Booth might allow Harry a bit of breathing space for himself. And once again, Nathan Booth makes a mistake in the crucial stages of this race. He's got some good pace, but he's making a few mistakes. What's the gap now between him and Harry? The gap is 1.9 seconds. He's lost a lot of time towards Harry Palmer, sorry. Once again, Nathan gets so close and makes a mistake. This time it's costing him dearly, but we know in 1 or 2 laps the gap went from 3.1 to 1.2. So Nathan, can he do it again? And Duel says, I am a Lando hater now. Why is he like that? So obviously Lando Norris has done something to upset the likes of Duel. We haven't even talked about the Hungarian Grand Prix. Oh, Nathan again! I think he went so wide at turn 7, so he's lost a lot of time. The gap is 1.6, so from the first to third sector, he gained 3/10. But in this last sector, he might lose a bit of time again. Nathan there, he could have got a podium. He was sitting pretty in P2 in the first stint. He had a big gap over Ewan Small, but something just happened to him in that second stint. As soon as he came out of the pit lane, that's when things started to go wrong. What's the gap now between him and Harry? 3.1 again. There's only 4 minutes left in this Grand Prix. We know Nathan's got some good pace, but he's started to make a few more mistakes, evidently. So Harry Palmer got to make sure he doesn't outbrake himself, doesn't go deep into corners, doesn't lose the car on traction. He's got a bit of breathing space now between himself and Nathan Booth. He may have lost the lead of this Grand Prix, but he can't afford to lose a podium too. That'll be a more insult to injury there for Harry Palmer in P3 after good work in qualifying. But can Nathan Booth find any more time within 3 minutes left to go in this Grand Prix? I want to have a look what I wish this cough disappeared so I could just talk thoroughly throughout the whole race without having a coughing fit. But Verstappen claimed Hamilton moved under braking. Stewart says the video evidence and telemetry showed Hamilton followed his normal racing line, didn't move under braking, and therefore Verstappen caused a collision. Yeah, there was a bit of banter between Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton in the podium interviews as well. The Hungarian Grand Prix, it was a very weird race, it must be said, due to the team orders, like Lando Norris undercutting Oscar Piastri and team orders given to give the place back. Now, Norris had some good pace, but I don't think McLaren's strategies are working out once again. Even though they finished 1-2, it wasn't perfectly executed, if that makes sense. There was a bit of a mess on both sides of the team. Lando and Oscar, they both deserved to win, but the team kind of didn't orchestrate it right, it must be said, in terms of strategy. They wanted to pit Lando Norris because they wanted to cover Lewis Hamilton in quotation marks, but Lewis Hamilton ultimately was not a threat towards McLaren, sorry. Then we saw the contact into turn 1 between Hamilton and Verstappen. Verstappen out of control, locked up the rear tyres, or locked up the front, sorry, and made contact with Hamilton's right rear tyre, caused him to go up in the air and lose the place to Charles Leclerc. The gap is 2.2. That's what I mean. Nathan's pace is so good, but when he gets close enough, he just makes that mistake. There's only 2 minutes left to go in this race, so maybe about 2 more laps in this race, maybe 1 more. I don't think Nathan's got it in him to try and overtake Harry Palmer on track. It's a shame for Nathan because he's got some good pace, but when he's on the attack, it looks like he's slipping backwards and making a few more mistakes than he should be. Maybe he's not really used to fighting in the rain when he's attacking people. He says he got some good pace. He's taking another 2/10 out of Harry Palmer in that middle sector there. But in this final lap of this Grand Prix or two, Harry Palmer has got to make sure he's got to keep it nice and clean. Can't afford any risks whatsoever. Can't put a foot wrong in this race, can Harry Palmer now. He's worked so hard to get back on the podium due to Nathan's misfortune, whatever Nathan did in that second stint when he went for the first pit stop. What's the gap now between Nathan and Harry? 1.9, so he's gained a lot of time in 1 lap, has Nathan Booth. But time is running out for him, and the podium is more likely to go towards Harry Palmer. Once again, Jake Garrett continues to extend his lead over Ewan Small. 36 laps have been completed. That's a 50% race in F1, you know. It's 36 laps around the Austrian Grand Prix in F1. We're about to do 1 more because I think Jake Garrett might get the extra lap in, which he will do. There's 30 seconds left to go on the clock, but I think Jake Garrett might be able to do 1 more lap, I think, before the race ends. Back to the battle for P3 and P4. The gap is now 1.7 seconds between 3rd and 4th place. Will Jake Garrett get 1 more lap in? That'll help Nathan for sure. Try and do the last lap attack if he can. Here we are, 10 seconds left to go on the clock. Is Jake Garrett going to win the race, or will it be 1 more lap? Here we are though, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the leader is on the final lap. So Harry Palmer and Nathan Booth then. 1 more lap between those two. I tell you what though, Nathan Booth has gained even more time on Harry Palmer. The gap is down to 1.4 seconds. He is gaining all the time at a rate of knots, but at the same time making his mistakes when he gets too close to him. Nathan Booth there. Is there any sort of chance for him to be back on the podium? He deserves it, they both do, but they both had their own mistakes in this race. But I'm not quite sure what happens to Nathan after his pit stop. That still remains to be the question after this race. If he does finish the podium, we'll ask him what happened. The gap is 1.1 seconds now. We did see him gain a lot of time in the first two sectors. He gains a lot of time, does Nathan Booth. But Harry Palmer can't afford to make a mistake. He can't afford to outbrake himself, go wide, otherwise Nathan Booth will have him. As we head down towards turn 3, another heavy braking zone. You can see Nathan getting closer and closer on the braking there. The last chance to overtake, I dare say, is down at turn 4. That's the real last opportunity to overtake, unless, of course, somebody makes a mistake out of the fast speed corners of turn 6, 7, 8, and 9, and turn 10. But as you can see, Nathan Booth is so close, but yet so far, he must be really frustrated with himself, knowing that the podium is right there, but he's made way too many mistakes. He was alone in P2 in the first stint, for those who weren't with us. The gap is 1 second now, but it won't matter. Here comes Jake Garrett. He wins the Austrian Grand Prix. He takes his second win of the season. What a fantastic drive to be back up there. Maslow is going as well. And here comes Ewan Sports finishing P2 and P3. But look at Nathan Booth. He's so close behind Harry Palmer. But he will not get him unless, of course, something major happens in these final two corners. We never know. Ewan Sport crossed the line to finish in P2. Here is Harry defending from Nathan Booth. One more corner to go for Harry Palmer. Nathan Booth is right behind him as we make our way now towards the line. Harry Palmer has thrown everything at him, and he finishes at P3. Nathan in P4, and Nathan Booth must be so frustrated not to get on the podium. The rest of them will finish 5th. Josh Vandro in 6th place. A lonely race for him. Menendez. Actually, it's 7. I think the gap was 12 seconds at one point. That was 4.7 seconds. And as you can tell, my voice started to go as I want to cough as well. So, apologies about that one. Got a sore throat once again, but it's all fun and games, really. But Jake Garrett, it's his second win of the season. Fantastic for him. Well deserved. What a comeback drive after the French GP. Put a statement in. And Ewan Small and P2 ahead of Harry Palmer. But we'll invite the podium sitters as I spoke to them before we got going. Didn't mean to take a screenshot, I meant to invite them. Phoenix. FOL Phoenix.
Green light, go, go, go.
Right, so the top 3 have been invited to the podium, and we can have a word from all 3 of them. It'll be quite interesting to hear what Ewan Small and Harry Palmer has to say, considering that Ewan Small was a long way off Nathan Booth before the pit stop happened. Somewhere in that time frame, Ewan Small was able to slick back through, and Ewan Small has joined the party who waits for Phoenix and Harry Palmer. I think all 3 boys are in the party, so we can get to talking to them, the big 3 in the league. And we'll start with Harry Palmer and P3. Before I do, just give me a moment. So Harry then, mate, it looked like in the first stint you were struggling quite a lot. You made quite a few mistakes. So you probably thought that the podium was off the cards, and you had Menendez as well to deal with. But at what point in the race did you think that the podium was back on? Yeah, that's an interesting one because I didn't know that. So when you pit, is that classed as a pit stop? You don't have to change tires if you don't want to. Is that how it goes? I see, because I thought you had to change tires too. So I was thinking to myself, why did Nathan lose a lot of time? But you said Nathan changed tires. So is that why he lost a lot of time? Because he was well ahead in second place, ahead of you in small, and way ahead of you. But Nathan just said, pro tip, do not pit for tires if it's wet. So when you had a bit of contact going down into turn three between you and Nathan. Nathan went up the inside. Second time, yeah, broke himself and he slipped through. But you must have been so nervous and maybe a bit relieved at the same time because every time Nathan got close to you, he ended up making a mistake of dropping back. They got close to you again and dropping back. So your heart rate must have been everywhere, seeing Nathan fall back and close in again. And you said you didn't deserve the podium, but at the end of the day, Nathan was the one that made the wrong call. And I know you made mistakes, and you did a good job defending from Jake Garrett too. Like he attacked you a few times as well, and he managed to get you into turn number three, turn number four, I think, in the heavy braking zone. But I don't think it was a yeah, you made a few mistakes, but you managed to get yourself back on the podium at the end of the day. Still have the pace to try and defend. You must have been so frustrated at the time, and your confidence must have gone down as well. How does that feel when you make mistakes? Do you get yourself composed again, or do you make more mistakes because knowing that you made a mistake before? Yeah. And you did a fantastic job from the defending from Nathan because he came at you in the final lap as well. He was so close behind you, so those mistakes did cost him. You do deserve to win the podium because at the end of the day, Nathan did choose the wrong strategy. He made mistakes on his behalf himself, so it equalises a bit between you two. But yeah, you thought in the first stint that your podium chances were over until it came alive after Nathan pitted for tyres. It's a shame though for Nathan because I would love to talk to him because I didn't know. I thought Nathan spun or something and made a mistake. That's why he dropped so far back. But yeah, it's a shame for Nathan both at the same time. But ultimately, it's the wrong strategy that cost him at the end of the day. And wrong strategies and mistakes are part of Formula One, part of ACC or any motorsport series or any circuit. But yeah, congratulations on P3. And how do you feel for the race next week? I think it's in Suzuka. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I had my first endurance race with all three of you. I think it went well. Did it? No, it did go well because I turned my engine off, so we lost a lot of time. But yeah, yeah, good luck for the Japanese Grand Prix. Is it the endurance? Not the endurance. Is it the endurance race next week? And is it Kyle Army? Bathurst, sorry. I know I'm going to be racing at it, which I don't want to be because, yeah, I'm not really good at the game. But how do you feel for the endurance race next week? Because we know at the Belgian Grand Prix, yeah, you made your mistakes. I'm going to talk about it to bring it up again. But yeah, how do you feel for the next race in Bathurst next Sunday? Oh, thank you, mate. Congrats on P3, and congrats on Paul as well, your first pole of the season. Hopefully, you can transfer it to win next time. And second place is Ewan Small. So, Ewan, mate, first stint, you were putting pressure on Nathan, then you dropped slightly backwards from him, but all of a sudden, you found yourself in P2. So, it was a lonely race for you in the second stint. So, just talk us through what was going through your mind in that race.
Yeah. I didn't have a great qualifying, to be fair. Didn't really had time to get used to that dry track, but yeah, just sat behind Nathan for the majority of my first stint. Fine doing that, and then just dropped back just due to a couple of mistakes. Just needed some clean air driving, and then yeah, I think he made the mistake by not changing tyres in the pits because he didn't really gain much from it. So yeah, I was about to say I don't really have much energy to talk about it, but
You just came back from a holiday. Did you come back yesterday or today?
today I got back at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, so you had a week of absence without going on your wheel. So, did it feel weird to go back on your wheel? And how much time did it take to adjust to try and get back to where you were in terms of pace?
Not not long, to be fair. I think I got to pace pretty quickly. Only needed a couple laps. I'm about to say I would have been better off in the rain due to people probably struggling in the rain and all of that type of stuff. And I don't really mind driving in the rain. If it was more dry, then I probably would have struggled a bit more. Like you would have probably seen a bit of inconsistency with my pace, but yeah, it was quite easy to get into a good rhythm out there. And then yeah.
And you were P4 for a bit of time as well. So Harry made that mistake, and you promoted to P3. Then all of a sudden you find yourself into P2. So do you know the first stint? I think the furthest you dropped back before Nathan Pitter was 5 seconds because you were putting a big pressure on Nathan in front of you, and all of a sudden you're 5 seconds behind. So is it Nathan's pace was fluctuating quite a lot because all of a sudden he was making mistakes and back on the pace again, making mistakes, back on the pace again.
I think I had the pace to get past him, to be fair. It's just that on exits, that McLaren was so much quicker than the BMW. Like, the traction he got compared to me was unbelievable, and I just couldn't get close down the straight. It would have, for me, the only way I would have got past is if he made a big mistake or like a little mistake out of a corner. I got him on exit, but that was probably the only chance I had. That's why I did the little undercut.
Yeah. And it worked out for you in the end as well. So P2, and you also do minimum damage in the championship as well because your rivals didn't really gain much points on you today, and Jay Garrett's quite far down the championship as well. And how do you feel for the next race in Bathurst for the endurance?
I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing it, to be fair. I have no idea. Is it next week, I'm guessing?
The next Sunday.
I don't really know, to be fair. I'll probably be here for the next whatever
Suzuka.
race it is. Yeah, that one.
And how do you feel around Suzuka when we do enter?
I've not done much practice there. I think I only did it with the McLaren, but it felt alright. I think the BMW might be a bit more stable around that track. Probably a bit better on the curb as well. So, we'll see. We'll see.
Thank you very much, Ewan, and congrats on P2s, mate. And you continue to extend your championship lead as well ahead of the rest of them. Move on to the race leader, or the race winner, Jake Garrett, mate. And Jake, after you overtook Harry Palmer, you were just dominated that race from then. So it's your second win of the season, and how do you feel now?
Feels great. I mean, I just missed out on pole, so I knew Harry had the upper hand. And he kept it into turn one on the start, so it's fair play to him. He had some decent pace, but after about 5 laps, I think he started to struggle a bit with tyre wear. He started making a few mistakes, which put me right on the rear of his gearbox.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent it down the inside into turn 3, and it was close because he kept it. So I knew that next time I had to be a little bit late on the brakes when I got position. And after that, I just pulled away. Didn't change the tyres in the pits, which was the right call. And Ewan made a few mistakes. I know Nathan changed the tyres, so in the end it was more about just keeping the pace and the consistency and not messing up, and that's what got me the win today. So quite proud.
Yeah, you need these results because in the last few races you had contact with Ewan in France, and you also had that problem with the internet. So you lost a lot of points. It's weird to see you down in P7,
Yeah.
considering you've always been up there. And do you think that you can really start to put the pressure on Ewan Small in the next few races?
Well, hopefully. I mean, it depends on how the Lamborghini is, because around some tracks it's really some tracks it's really good, and then some tracks it just struggles a lot, like it did in France.
Yeah.
Where it was really unstable. But hopefully around Suzuka it's a bit more stable. But it was really nice around here. It was a good car to drive. But time will tell. But hopefully, start pulling these wins in.
Yeah, you need to as well because it's a short season and every single race counts as well. So hopefully you don't have any more internet connection issues. It should be sorted with that booster you have now, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should be all good. And the guy that we own the Virgin Media Wi-Fi guy came down, sorted it out. So should be all sorted now.
And I really hope we get to see more battles between you and Small because you've been quite close this season, you and Ewan. Yeah, quite right to say. But do you think that'll be a really close battle between yourself and him in the next few races? Do you think that you'll have more fights like you did in France?
Well, hopefully. I mean, it brings more fun to the table, but we're quite similar on pace, especially with Nathan there as well. When he's on the ball,
Yeah.
it's like a three-way fight. And Harry as well. He's been doing well. He's been gaining quite a lot of pace these last few weeks. So it'll be interesting. I mean, hopefully we do, but I'm not complaining if we don't, because makes it a lot more safe. But it is what it is.
Right, that's the end of the Austrian Grand Prix. It was a good race considering there was a bit of time where nothing was happening, but at the same time it was a good battle for P1, P3 at the same time with other people making mistakes, and Scott Dodds was the latest spinner as well at the final corner in the Ford. But it was a tricky race, full wet conditions. It was a dry qualifying session, and they did have the practice session in the rain, so they were able to take a bit of information going from the practice to the race. But congratulations, Jake, Ewan, and Harry for the top three in the podium and for the race win. And we'll see you all next race in Bathurst for the 3-hour endurance race. I think Jonathan will be commentating for that race, and I'll be joining him alongside too to fill in whilst I'm not at my stint. Same with Scott Dodds as well. So the big three, the comms box, will be back soon, very shortly. But hopefully you all enjoyed the race. The Hungarian Grand Prix was a thriller too, and we'll see you all next time out.